And then ladies in the dealings with monks should be a bit more careful also. Try to keep a distance from monks, not too friendly. So in my years of monkhood, now in Theravada I am 22 years. I was 3 years in Mahayana, so about 25 years of monkhood. So I'm still wearing the robes because I know the dangers. So when it comes to women, when I was a younger monk, I was very careful not to be too friendly with young women. Now I'm a bit older, a bit safer, not so laku anymore. But then, still a danger, because a few months ago I went back to Thailand to see my preceptor, which I had not seen for 12 years. So when I went to see him, then I asked him about the other old monk who ordained me so long ago. By now he should be at least 60 something or 70. And I was shocked to find out that he disrobed. And I asked the reason. He got caught by a woman. I'm surprised, so old that he got caught by a woman. I asked, how old is that woman? 50 something years old. So old monks also can be caught by old women. It's still a danger. That's why the Buddha said that a monk should not talk alone with a woman. So whenever any woman approaches the monk, it's best to get another person. Okay, the other thing is, although lay persons should support the Sangha, but also have to use the wisdom a bit. There are certain cases I know, even happening now. Some monks, they try to build a hermitage on illegal land. The land doesn't belong to them. It doesn't belong to him. It's government land. And then he starts collecting funds and building this, building that. So, in this particular case, I know, after putting so much money into all that building, he got a letter from the land office to locate the land, being asked to chase out from the land. So, it's a waste of lay people's funds to put so much money into this place which does not belong to him or to anybody. Sometimes some lay devotees, because of devotion, they may have an estate, an orchard, then they invite the monk to come and stay. Sometimes they build a small kuti. And then some monks, instead of staying alone there and practicing, they become a bit ambitious. They start building more kutis and then build a hall for people to come and hear the Dhamma and build preceptors' quarters. And they build too much, and finally the owner takes back the land. And then all that money also gone to waste. So we have to be a bit careful if you support the place, whether they are building all these things in the proper place. You're not building the proper place after a few years, all that money is gone down the drain. Also, if certain monks are doing the wrong things, bringing monks into bad reputation, also it's not wise to support a place which practices wrongly to the extent of disgracing the Sangha. But some people are a bit greedy for merit, and they're very choosy of the monks they support. They only support very famous monk. So that also is not right. When I was a new monk, when I was a young monk, I also was a bit hurt by certain people. Being a young monk, they look down on you. And then they only want to support famous monks. But then the Buddha said, there are 4 things that you should not despise just because they are young, just because they are small. First one is prince, crown prince. I tell the 4 things first, prince, and then fire, then a poisonous snake, and then the last one is a monk. So if a crown prince or a prince, when he's young, you antagonize him, you do something wrong to him. One day when he sits on the throne, so I have to be careful, don't antagonize the prince. Second one is fire. Even if it's a small fire, don't think just because it is just like ember, a lot of smoke and embers, you don't bother. But the thing can burst into, if a strong wind comes, it will burst into flame again, can even burn down your house. So that's the second thing. The third thing is a small poisonous snake like a cobra. Even though the baby cobra is so small, the poison is the same as the mother cobra. Only thing is smaller quantity. So if you simply kick it, give you a bite. Base for you. So that's the third. The fourth one is a monk. When a monk is young, don't look down on him, don't behave wrongly towards him. One day he might become an Arya. And then your offense multiplies very much. So the Buddha said, 4 things don't look down on when they are young. The Buddha said, when you support a virtuous monk, your merit is very great. But if you support the Sangha as a whole, your merit is the highest. The Buddha said, even though you support the Buddha or an Arahant, the merit is very, very great. But if you support the Sangha as a whole, it's even greater. And then the Buddha also said, in the future, there will be some monks who are corrupt, who don't keep the precepts well, and they don't practice the holy life, they don't meditate, they don't bother to study the suttas and the precepts and all that. Even then, if you make offerings to the monastery as a whole, just to support the Sangha, even then, your offering is greater, the merit is greater than even offering an Arahant. So always bear in mind that we support the Sangha as a whole, so that the Sangha can perpetuate, can continue. Because once the Sangha line is broken, then no more Sangha. And then when there's no Sangha, there's no Dhamma. Because the Sangha is the bearer of the Dhamma, right, from generation to generation. Sangha, monks and nuns are committed people, committed to upholding the Dhamma, committed to propagate the Dhamma even at the expense sometimes of our life. That's why in the suttas there was one particular monk. He was going to a place to stay and practice and also to teach the Dhamma. And that place, I think it was called Sunna Paranta, where the people were very fierce. And still he wanted to go there. And then he went there, and then he practiced and he taught the Dhamma. And according to the suttas, 500 people attained the Dhamma vision, Sotapanna, sleep and dream. And he himself also became an Arahant. So it is because of actually this work of monks and nuns. That's why 2,000 over years our Dhamma has been transmitted down to us. That's why the Sangha as a whole is considered one of the triple gems, Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, the triple gem, worthy of respect earlier veneration and offerings. So lastly, I conclude here by saying that lay people should know a bit about the Vinaya. If you look into my book, the book I wrote about the monks' precepts, a guide for lay people, I mentioned there that in the Vinaya, the Buddha said that monks should not chant all the precepts in front of lay people. So probably because during the Buddha's time they chanted the precepts in the local language. So probably the Buddha thought that lay people should not know too much about the Vinaya, because if they know too much, then they will become overcritical of monks. But then they forget that out of the 227 precepts that a monk is supposed to uphold, only about 50 over precepts. If a monk breaks, actually he creates bad karma. But 160 something precepts, if a monk breaks, he does not really create bad karma. Why? Because you must understand, precepts fall into two classes, the monk's precepts. The Buddha, to uphold the name of the Sangha, he was very fussy. For example, a monk is not allowed to keep food overnight. But actually, the first person who broke this precept was an Arahant. This Arahant was staying up the hill very high. So, when he goes to the bath, he has to walk a long distance to the kampong, to the village, to get his food and walk up again. So it took a lot of time and energy to walk down and walk up again. So he decided that he will walk down on Armstrong, collect his food, go back, eat, and the balance of the food he will dry in the sun. Dry in the sun so that he can keep for a few days. And then the next day he will eat the dried rice. And the day after that also he will eat the dried rice. And the day after that, if there's still some more, he will eat the dried rice so that he doesn't have to come down on Armstrong every day. That's good now, isn't it? But then the Buddha said no. The Buddha wanted him to go on Armstrong every day, maybe to give a chance for lay people to create blessings by offering food to the Sangha. So this kind of precept is a very minor precept. Originally the Buddha did not bother to make this precept, only later the Buddha decided. So there are other precepts, for example, a monk is not allowed to eat food, ordinary food, from noon until the next dawn. In Malaysia, it's like from 1 p.m. until the next morning, 7 a.m. A monk is not allowed to eat food. But this kind of precept actually, originally the Buddha did not make. So in the beginning, some monks could even go on alms round at night and collect food and eat. But later the Buddha decided to become more and more strict because there were too many corrupt monks. So the Buddha made more and more precepts. But the Buddha realized that some of these precepts may not be practical in the future. So when the Buddha was about to pass into Parinibbana, without being asked, the Buddha told Ananda, in the future, if the Sangha wants to abolish the minor precepts, they may do so. But the Buddha did not specify which minor precept. So he purposely did that so that as the occasion demanded, then the monks have to use their wisdom. For example, 10 years, 11 years ago, I went to Australia for 6 months. Then I stayed with various monks. The longest I stayed was with Ajahn Brown's monastery, about 4.5 months. Then after that I moved from city to city. And I stayed with certain monks. And I found that certain Australian monks, they stay in a shop house like this. They people that offer. And then they cook themselves. This cooking is not allowed in the Vinaya for a monk, except during a famine. During times of famine, monks are allowed to cook. So, you have to see the place, and you have to see the time, the situation. Like in Australia, because the people don't know how to offer food, to cook the food, it's a very minor thing. But in Thailand, if a monk cooks his food, everybody will look down on him. Not a monk at all, right? Because in Thailand, you go anywhere, you can get food for a monk. But the people are poor. I used to go live in Thailand. And sometimes we go to poor areas. You bake the whole morning, what you get? White rice and one hard-boiled egg. No more, nothing else. Sometimes you get white rice and one small ikan sepak, one fried fish from the paddy field, small fried fish. So you cannot choose the food. So actually, this going on arms round is very, very good practice. Firstly, it teaches a monk to be humble. Secondly, it teaches a monk not to be choosy. I've gone to certain places in Thailand the food is so horrible that eating is actually quite difficult. I went to this Mukdahan, northeast Thailand. I stayed 3 weeks. In this place, every day we go on Armstrong, you know what we get? Snail. And then fried beetle. And then rat. And then frog. Not tin kai, not tin kai. Ordinary frog, with a very rough skin. Toad. And then sometimes they we go on arms down, they wrap these things for us in a plastic bag. And the people are so poor, they are happy to share our food, so they drive us back to the hill in a van. So when we come back, they open all these plastic packages and put the same curry in the same bowl. So then they come and offer us. Sometimes you look at this dish, one big eye there, you don't know what it is. And then sometimes the bowl with the frog, the toad, like floating on the thing. So hard to eat. I thought to myself, I come so far, if I don't try one, waste my time. Close my eyes and swallow one. And then you eat the snail, very but the beetle not too bad, like peanut. It's fried already. So, when you eat this type of food, eating is a torture every day. By the time I'm thinking of vegetarian food, I still don't have. I'm looking for the bananas, and the only type of fruit they give us is the small banana. I eat the banana. So the food was so bad that at night, you know what I dream? I dream of chocolate. Longing for chocolate. You're so lucky, you can eat chocolate anytime you want, you don't think of chocolate. When you get starved of chocolate that time, then you think of chocolate. So I see, quite interesting, you go to places like that. Okay, the other thing is, if you find certain monk is not behaving properly, it's good to ask the monk why he behaves in a certain way. Or if he doesn't want to tell you, then you consult another monk. whether that behavior is proper. But instead of bad-mouthing him, some people, they don't like a particular monk, they can spread. Now this spreading, talking bad about somebody, ruining somebody's reputation is very bad, because once you start talking, then you tell 5 people, very soon it goes to 50, very soon it goes to 500. So this bad karma is multiplied. That's why when it comes to monks and nuns, you have to be very careful. So I think I'll stop here and give you a chance to ask questions.
So you know that Vinaya will say that the monk accept money. So, but in Malaysia, we used to give Nawakana in terms of Angpao. So, when we just divided, is it acceptable, or how do we handle it properly?
Whether giving money, what you call Navakama, is allowable. Firstly, in the Vinaya, there is no such thing as Navakama. It's created later. And the understanding of this word Navakama is that Nava is new. New works. In other words, if a monastery is building something, a new project, then you give money. But then what is allowed in the Vinaya is that there is such a thing called Mandaka allowance. I tell you the background first. At one time, the Buddha was walking with 1,250 Arahant disciples. And because the Buddha and his disciples, their reputation was good, so a lot of people were rushing to offer food dana to the monks. So that the Buddha and his 1,250 Arahants, they were booked for many days. So there was this rich man called Mandaka. He wanted to make an offering, but he found that all the days were booked and he could not make an offering. So he asked the Buddha for permission to give money for the use of the monk. And the Buddha allowed. So it's called a Mandaka allowance. But the money should not go to the monk. The money should go to what is called a Kapya Karaka. Kapya is allowable. Karaka is one who makes. So Kapya Karaka is one who makes allowable. So this, for short, we call Kapya. This Kapya can accept the money on behalf of the monk. But the money does not belong to the monk. The money still belongs to the person who donated the money, only to be used when the monk needs. So the Buddha says, if the monk needs something, for example medicine or robe or something, he can inform the Kapya, and the Kapya will use the money to buy for him. So it's best that the monk should not hold the money, should not have his own bank account. That is not allowed. So it's also better that a monk should have a registered organization, like we have a Sangha foundation. So when there's a bank account, it is under the name of the foundation. So lay people, we choose a few reliable lay persons to look after the fund. It depends on the monk. If the monk is strict with the Vinaya, if you offer the requisite, he will tell you not to offer the Angpao. The Angpao should go to the person looking after the funds. In our monastery, we have a set of regulations. And one of the regulations is that the lay people should not give money to a monk or to the novice monk. It's not allowed. The lay people should only give money to the foundation. The thing is, this kind of practice where you are not supposed to touch the food after offering, different Buddhist countries have different practice. So it is with the Thai tradition. In the Thailand, once you offer a food, you are not allowed to touch it. If you touch it, it's like you have taken it back. You have to re-offer again. So you have to be careful what tradition you are dealing with. The Sri Lankans, they like the lay people to offer, but not the Thai tradition. So each monastery is different. So when you go to a monastery, it's good to ask. And those who follow strictly the Thai tradition women also cannot offer into the hands of the monk. The monk will put a cloth, and the monk will hold the cloth, and then the women offer the food onto the cloth. When you offer food also, if it's a monk of the Thai tradition, who are very strict on this practice, then he will put a cloth and you offer on the cloth. So sometimes you're not sure, you ask the monk. Okay, just now I mentioned that you should not give money to a monk. So it doesn't matter whether he's a bogus monk or a real monk, don't give money. Just give food. So you just give food, after a while he is a bogus monk, nobody offer him money, he won't do his act anymore. Actually, since you all have a library here, I told Brother Albert that I will give you, when you come tomorrow, 3 copies of my book, The Buddhist Monks' Precepts, which was written for monks. So it's quite detailed. So there you will see that Mahayana and Theravada monks have the same monk precepts, basically the same. Theravada has 227 precepts. Mahayana has 250, even more. Only problem is some of them, they choose not to follow the precept. They say Hong Pian. Actually it's Hui Pian. This question about a monk who smokes. Actually in the Vinaya, there is no precept against smoking. But there is a precept against using money. So if a monk uses money to buy cigarette, that is breaking the precept. But if a monk smokes, because some lay person offered him a cigarette, it's not broken a precept. Actually, in Thailand, it is a custom because many years ago, you have great meditators like Ajahn Man. They also smoke. But the cigarette they smoke is the cheapest, the BD. They use that thing. They roll it, smoke. The only thing is nowadays cigarettes become very expensive, so people are offended seeing. But then strict monasteries, like our monastery, we don't allow a monk to smoke. We don't even allow an 8th preceptor to smoke. Different culture, different view. Just like we Chinese are so used to monks taking vegetarian food. Some Chinese think all monks must be vegetarian, otherwise they are not pure, otherwise they are not compassionate. It's a wrong thinking. Right? Buddha himself was not a vegetarian. So it is, you have to be very careful about mixing our own personal views. For example, in Thailand and in Sri Lanka, monks drink tea and drink coffee, but in Burma it's not allowed. But then I think the Burmese monks, they eat something in the evening. I don't know what it is they eat, like something like, not betel nuts, something else. I don't know, like seafood like that. That probably is not allowed in Thailand. So you have to find out what is allowable in a particular tradition, what is not allowable. Even before they got slaughtered, I was asked a question, and I said that in the monks' Vinaya, it is not proper for a monk to engage in worldly affairs. So, because if a monk engages in worldly affairs, then, especially in politics, then it puts the whole Sangha in danger. Many years ago, in Bangkok, there was curfew. Because of some political problem, there was curfew, and lay persons were not allowed to come out on the streets on certain hours. But in the morning, with the soldiers standing, holding guns at the roadside, the monks were walking on Pindabat, nobody stopped them. Because Thailand, they know that the monks generally don't champo politics, don't get mixed up with politics, so they are not a threat. So the monks could go on arms round, walk safely without being stopped. On the other hand, you see what happened in Burma? Just killed for nothing. But if a monk actually practices the holy life and he meditates, he has no time to be involved in politics. His mind, if he gets thinking of politics, his mind is not in the here and now. In the suttas, you find that actually it's very good to study the suttas, because there are a lot of practical things in the sutta. And unless you study the suttas again and again, some of these important things you miss. For example, there's one sutta that the Buddha said that it is silly for a monk to sing or to chant in a singing high and low tone. And the Buddha said one of the reasons he discourages that is because it can break a monk's concentration. Because sati people translate as mindfulness. It is not actually mindfulness, it is recollection. Why? Because we are mindful all the time. 24 hours a day we are mindful. Even when we are dreaming, we are also mindful. Why? When you are dreaming, you are mindful of your dream. Right? If you are having stray thoughts, you are mindful of your stray thoughts. Right? But that is not sati. Sati has to do with remembering. Because sati comes from the word S-M-R-T-I, which means to remember. And why to remember? It means to remember your object of meditation. For example, if you are doing the breath meditation, you're supposed to be mindful of your breath all the time. So if your mind runs away, you bring it back to your breath. Or if you are doing the meditation on the 32 parts of the body, and then you chant head, hair, body, hair, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinew, bone, marrow, kidney, heart. So you are supposed to meditate on that and put your mind there, contemplate that. If your mind goes to some other thing, you bring it back to that particular thing. So sati has to do with remembering your object of meditation, right? So if a monk starts to sing, he forgot his object of concentration already. So he loses his concentration. So similarly, if a monk starts to be concerned about political affairs, then his mind goes to political things. It's not in the right place. Forgot his object of meditation. The Buddha's disciples, they put their mind on their object of meditation all the time. And only one object of meditation all the time. A lot of people, they don't know How to practice Satipatthana is given in the Samyutta Nikaya. The Buddha gave a simile about the most beautiful girl of the country came out. And then the men saw the most beautiful country of the girl come out, and they clapped their hands and shouted, and the most beautiful girl in the country. And then more men came out and clapped their hands, and then they shouted for her to sing and dance. So she started to sing and dance, and a lot of people came out and shouted and clapped, seeing this beautiful girl singing and dancing. Then the Buddha said an ordinary man came along. He was caught by the soldiers. He was forced to carry a bowl of oil filled to the top, filled to the brim. And he was asked to walk with the bowl of oil, holding the bowl of oil. And the soldier was walking behind him and told him, if you spill this oil, even one drop you spill, I will chop off your head. So he has to walk among the crowd of people watching this girl singing and dancing. He has to look at the bowl of oil all the time. And his attention is so fixed. The Buddha asked, can he look right? Can he look left? Cannot. Can he look at the beautiful girl? Dare not. Right? So he has to walk only looking at the bowl of oil without being distracted at all. So actually, this simile is telling us how to practice Satipatthana. That is why all Arahants are mindful. You can say mindful or recollected 24 hours a day. In the Vinaya books, if you accuse an Arahant of any offense, it's not possible. Because his mind is 24 hours collected or mindful. So, even when Arahant sleeps, if he happens to dream also, he knows he's dreaming. Not that he doesn't know. He is master of his mind, absolute master of his mind. Cannot fall asleep without knowing. So for a person to attain Arahanthood, to come to that state where he is collected 24 hours a day, he has to train himself to that state where he doesn't sleep. That's why in the Vinaya books there were some new monks. They were in the Dhamma hall listening to some Dhamma talk of some senior monk. Then after that the talk finished. Then the senior monk went back to the kuti. And these young monks were sitting there. And then they were tired, they fell asleep. In the middle of the night, Buddha came and called them to wake up. The Buddha said, you all should not be sleeping unmindfully. So you have a teacher like that, he cannot sleep peacefully. You fall asleep only, the Buddha knows from his psychic power. That's why when our Mahamoggallana was practicing so hard, within 7 days he attained Arahanthood. Like the Buddha said in the Satipatthana Sutta, if you practice Satipatthana within 7 days, you can attain Arahanthood liberation, provided you don't sleep. So our Mahamoggallana was so tired from practicing that he was nodding his head in the middle of the night, falling asleep and nodding his head. Then the Buddha used his psychic power from the top of his head, one golden likeness of the Buddha came out and went to Mahamoggallana and talked to him. Said, sit up, Moggallana, don't be full of sloth and torpor. Then he got a shock from Buddha. So he continued to practice without sleeping 7 days in Arahanthood. So actually, meditation is a fight against sleep. Because every time we sleep, we allow the mind to run. And this is the asavas. The flow of the mind is called the asavas. That's why a lot of people don't know. Enlightenment, the definition of enlightenment is destruction of the asavas. It's break this tendency of the mind to flow. So the mind only flows when we allow it to flow. And it's worse when you fall asleep. When you fall asleep, it flows. My parents used to say, Pang Tua Chia. The big vehicle, traveling here, traveling there. So, If we don't sleep, we don't allow the mind to run. Or even if you sleep less, instead of sleeping 8 hours a day, you are able to sleep 4 hours a day, and then you meditate the next day, you find different. You can meditate much better. The Buddha said, if you offer to the Sangha, then merit is the highest. But if you have greed, it lessens the blessings, the merit. Okay? But still it is very great. But if you offer to a beggar, if it happens to be a rascal, a rogue, then your merit is not very great. Just like if you offer to a dog, a dog is also got life. So the merit, even out of compassion, you offer to a hungry stray dog, blessings, the merit is not very great.